hardly a week goes by, or it seems that way these days, where we hear of yet another of our icons and or celebrities passing away. They were the people we grew up with. It might have been a person on television like Bert Newton, Graham Kennedy or somebody like that, Don Lane, whatever it might have been. Or it might have been somebody in the sporting arena that we wished we could grow up to be like in that. And we sort of grew up admiring these people and probably feeling like they were our friend, maybe even a family member, I don't know, but they certainly felt like friends to us. So when we hear that they've passed away, and it's usually because of just age, which unfortunately catches up with all of us, it sometimes is a bit of a shock. So I thought, who better to ask than our resident psychologist, Carlos Camacho, about, is it the same as losing a family member or a friend? So I've got Carlos on the line. G'day, Carlos.
G'day, Dave.
How are you?
I'm great. What about you?
I can't complain. No, all good.
Excellent.
An old married man these days. It's great fun.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're set now.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. Lots, yeah, it's good fun. Hey,
wonderful.
I thought I'd ask you about this because I've got to admit, it seems like every week these days, someone that you remember from as you're growing up is passing away, and obviously it's just their age and all that sort of stuff catching up. But it sort of does still come as a shock to you, and it sort of makes you feel a bit, that's sad. And it's like losing a friend, I guess. Is that just something that humans feel when they sort of know this person from their childhood or something?
Yes, that's right, Dave. I mean, it's almost the same sometimes as losing someone we actually know in our lives, because we grow up with them. The way they were part of our lives. They were probably involved in many great moments of our lives too. If it's a musician or an actor or an artist or someone in the entertainment industry or even like an athlete, we remember a lot of our memories are based on certain things, certain events, and some of these people were part of that. I remember when Shane Warne died, and some of the stories we had, some of our friends were. I remember we were at the beach, in summer, and then we were thinking, Warnie's probably about to bowl. Now let's get back to the caravan and watch. and so it's. And that's around other memories that come with it. So a lot of these people are very important in our lives.
Yeah, because I know I still to this day, like everyone says, where were you when JFK died? Well, I was too young. But I do remember when Elvis died, and it was a bit of a shock. But when John Lennon, when the news came over the radio, I still to this day remember it. I was at Cronulla Beach. I was on holidays. I'd got back to the car and turned the radio on in the car, and they'd said that he'd been shot, and then they played a song, and then they came back and said that he'd passed away. And it was like somebody just stabbed me in the chest. It was like, and I cried. I really did. It was like losing a friend because I'd grown up with the Beatles, and there's one of them being shot dead.
Yeah, well, that's right, and a lot of these people too, like John Lennon and Elvis and all these big characters, they are bigger than life to us because we only know them when they're performing a lot of the time, especially during those times when we didn't have the internet and the apps. We either saw them live or we watched the videos of them or listened to their music, and they were like bigger than life, and they've passed away now. They're gone, and it also reminds us of how fragile life is, but it reminds us, I think, also of our own mortality when something like that happens. And whilst we do suffer during those times, like you said, you were emotional when John Lennon died, it's also the positives of that is that it also reminds us to live the moment, to live every moment, because life is fragile, is short. And I heard you say in the introduction that unfortunately, I think you said that old age catches up to us. But in a way, that's what makes it more valuable, that it does end. It's like those summer loves, or imagine a movie, you're watching a movie and it never ends. And so we need to be able to turn that around and go, well, the fact that it is temporal, that we are mortal, and it doesn't matter what we do in life, even these people that have done so much more than us a lot of the time, and not only musicians, but also leaders and people that have changed the world. They've had their time and then they go, and it's a good opportunity to reflect on what we want to do in our lives, and every day is basically miraculous.
You know how some people we get along with and they become your friends and they become, in some cases, lifelong friends and that. It's like I'm drawn to a person or you're both drawn to each other as friends sort of thing, whereas other people you might not. Is it the same sort of attraction or a similar sort of attraction that makes you like a particular artist, for example, or is it because you're looking at them as, I'd like to be like that guy one day or something?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think there is. Personally, I feel that we are attracted to certain people, whether they are in our lives physically or just as in a way in our fantasy world, the imaginary world, which a lot of people are. That we'll never meet these people, but they are still part of our lives, and we are drawn to certain characters that we admire for some reason, and you find a lot of that in athletes as well. Some people say, "Oh no, I don't like that athlete because he's a bit up himself," or she's a bit like this or like that, and then some other people say, "Oh, that's exactly why I like them."
Yeah, that's true.
So there is a personality interest there. Definitely, we study that in psychology a lot, and what draws us to certain people, and look. The fact that they're not in our lives, it doesn't really matter too much because, we don't have to put up with them every day. But it's more important, of course, that the people that we choose as friends and as our partners, that we actually get along with and we're capable of being able to discuss certain things, and where they're supportive. And one of the things I always say is I love the Mozart, the classical musician, and not so much because of his music, despite it being incredibly beautiful, and it's more that I always say he seems to have been the type of guy that you could just have over for dinner and a beer.
Yeah.
And have it where with Beethoven, I think it would be a bit tougher gig there, having to have a chat with him because of his personality, and so yes, definitely we are drawn to people due to their personality.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, isn't it? That's why I wanted to ask you about that, because as I say, it's getting to the point because of, as I said earlier, the age that these celebrities, for lack of a better word, they're becoming, but you almost wake up expecting to hear that such and such a person's dead or something now, because it's just getting to be, it's obviously, it might probably happened years ago too, when all the stars from the golden years of Hollywood from the 40s and that were all getting to a certain age and everything. And it's like the changing of the guard in a way, sort of thing.
Yes. And we are obviously getting older ourselves.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that we knew of are actually our age or much, much older. So as we get older ourselves, we tend to lose a lot more people that are in our lives, either physically or imaginary. So it's one of those things that, yes, when we're young, it just seems a lot different, doesn't it? It seems that our life and everyone else's life is in front of them, and there's no talk of or there's no thought of mortality much, and that's the beauty of youth, isn't it? That you just
you're indestructible.
Do what you got to do. Yeah. The thought of mortality doesn't come into our heads.
It's funny how as you get older, that you just made me think of something. Then how as you get older, you do look back at things differently, and you sort of, in some ways, even change the way you do things, because I don't know, it just seems different for some reason.
It does, and I think nature's wise in that way. As you know, we're young and you want to do all these things, and we're passionate, and we have all these goals, and we set goals for years ahead. Of course, as we get older, it's mathematical, isn't it? Those years ahead suddenly are that far away now, and so it's your plan starts becoming a lot more, in a way, shorter, but also more set in the present and in the near future. And I think that's wise, because we're being prepared to understand that, you know, a lot of the great times we've had are behind us, but there's hopefully a few to come. But it's no use waiting. You have to start working on those things now. And in a way, we feel we can use that in a positive way to understand that, time is quite relative, as Einstein said. So it doesn't really matter whether you're 16 or 66. It's today the most important day of your life. But when you're 16, of course, we don't have the capacity to reason that way, or there's no need to either. So we become more prepared to, in a way, to live our lives the best we can and without wasting too much time, but also being prepared to leave the space for those who are coming after us.
Yeah, it's funny, because I can remember my grandmother being my age when I was a teenager, and that was old. But now I think I'm only young. But then again, I think too, each generation is different to the previous one. I'm more. Well, I don't know if I'd say more active or more young thinking or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's right. A lot of I think I saw something the other day where they had the ages of the travelling Wilburys when they formed, and I think the oldest one was 48.
Wow.
And we used to think, well, these guys are so old, and they started a new band, but it's all in perspective, isn't it? Now we most of us, and at least you and I, have passed that milestone, and we kind of like realize, we look back and think, wow, these people that we thought were getting old, they had dreams, and they wanted to continue living just like we do now.
It's amazing when you do think about things like that, because you think, the wisdom that's in those people's minds that you didn't have years earlier. It's amazing.
That's right. It's wonderful to talk to older people, elderly people, and I always try to motivate some of my young patients to spend some time with their grandparents and have a chat about, just ask questions. What did you do when when you were young, and how did you meet Granddad, and all these things? Because we have to remember too that most of our civilization, all the generations that came before us, till very, very recently, only maybe the last 100 years, all the stories were passed orally, through stories themselves, verbally. And so all that information was passed on, and that helped a young person be able to confront their lives in a different way, because they're already getting some of the solutions, the way the person that came before you dealt with a problem, and so when you're confronted with it, you won't have the experience, but you have some knowledge. So, and I also talk to a lot of older people too, and say, look, when there's a family gathering, you might think that the young kids don't want to talk to you, but that's fine. Just sit them down and ask them about what they're doing and what they like, and whether it's something totally alien to us now. You'll start a conversation, and you'll find that both the young and the old will really enjoy that time together, because we both can get something from each other.
Good advice. Good on you, Carlos. It's great talking to you again, and you have a great week, and thank you so much for your time tonight.
No, wonderful. I'm always happy to be on your show, Dave. It's a wonderful show. I always listen, and I'm glad that we had another little chat.
Yeah, likewise. We'll do it again soon. Good on you.
Rightio.
See you, mate.